was 73 years old when I learned that trust could be stolen as easily as money. It happened on a Tuesday morning in late September. The kind of morning when the Ohio sky looks like brushed silver, and the maple trees outside my kitchen window had just started their slow burn into orange and red. I was pouring my second cup of coffee, black, no sugar, the way Harold used to drink it when my phone rang. The voice on the other end was young, professional, urgent. "Mrs. Patterson, this is David from the Fraud Prevention Department at First National Bank. We've detected suspicious activity on your account, multiple unauthorized transactions. We need to act quickly to secure your funds." My hand trembled. The coffee cup rattled against the saucer. Suspicious activity. I don't understand. I haven't used my card in days, except at the grocery store. That's exactly the issue, ma'am. Someone's cloned your information. They're making purchases right now as we speak. In California. Do you know anyone in California? No, I'm Mrs. Patterson. I need you to stay calm. We can fix this, but time is critical. Can you access your online banking right now? I stood there in my kitchen, surrounded by 47 years of memories in this house. The pencil marks on the doorframe where we measured the grandkids' heights, Harold's reading chair by the window, the Christmas photo from 2019 when everyone was still here, still healthy, still whole, and I felt something I hadn't felt since the night Harold didn't come home from the hospital. Complete and utter helplessness. Yes, I can get to my computer. But shouldn't I just come to the bank? It's only 15 minutes away. No. His voice sharpened, then softened. I'm sorry, Mrs. Patterson, but no. By the time you get here, they could drain your entire account. We're talking about your life savings, your Social Security deposits, everything. I need you to trust me right now. Can you do that? Trust. That word hung in the air like smoke. I walked to Harold's old desk, my legs feeling like they belonged to someone else. The computer screen glowed to life, and for the next 43 minutes, I followed every instruction David gave me. I transferred money to secure accounts. I provided verification codes. I downloaded a protection software that would shield my information. It wasn't until the screen went black completely, utterly black, that the truth crept in like cold water under a door. There was no David. There was no fraud prevention department calling from my bank. There was just me, standing in Harold's study, staring at a dead computer screen, realizing that $62,417, everything Harold and I had saved over 5 decades of work, sacrifice, and careful planning, was gone. I didn't cry right away. I just stood there, listening to the grandfather clock tick in the hallway, the same clock that had marked every important moment in this house. Bert's, birthdays, Harold's last breath, and now this. The worst part wasn't the money, though God knows I needed it. The worst part was the shame, the burning, suffocating shame of being fooled, of being the kind of person who falls for something so obvious, the kind of person who becomes a cautionary tale. I couldn't call my daughter in Seattle. She'd already worried I couldn't manage alone. I couldn't call my son in Boston. He'd been suggesting assisted living. For months, I couldn't call anyone, because calling meant admitting that maybe they were right. Maybe I was too old, too slow, too trusting for this world that had changed so much faster than I could keep up. So I did what I always did when the world became too heavy. I walked to my mailbox. Just a simple walk down the driveway, past the garden where I'd planted Harold's favorite roses, to the old metal mailbox that had been there since 19. The air smelled like wood smoke and dying leaves. Mrs. Chen across the street was raking her lawn. The Morrison kids were getting off the school bus 3 houses down. Everything looked so normal. How could the world look so normal when mine had just collapsed? I opened the mailbox, nothing but a grocery store flyer, and a Medicare reminder, and that's when I heard her voice. "Mrs. Patterson, are you all right?" I turned around, and there she was. The new neighbor from next door. The one who'd moved in last month. I'd seen her a few times, young, maybe 30 or 35, always in scrubs, coming and going at odd hours. A nurse, I'd heard. We'd exchanged waves but never really talked. She was standing at the property line, still in her blue hospital scrubs, a bag of groceries in her arms, and something in her face. Maybe it was the way the afternoon light caught her eyes, or maybe it was just that I was so desperate for someone to see me made everything break open. Double quotes, my voice cracked. I did something very stupid. Set down her groceries. She walked across her lawn, across the invisible line between her world and mine. And she said 5 words that changed everything. Tell me what happened, Margaret. She knew my name. I didn't even know hers yet. But somehow, standing there in the fading September light, I knew that whatever came next, the police reports, the shame, the impossible task of getting my life back, I wouldn't be facing it alone. I just didn't know yet how far she would go to fight for me, or what it would cost her, or that in trying to save my future, we'd somehow build one neither of us expected. Her name was Sarah Chen, not the Mrs. Chen across the street. That was her aunt, the one who'd helped her find the rental next door. Sarah was a cardiac nurse at St. Mary's Hospital, worked the night shift 3 days a week, and had moved to our little corner of Willowbrook, Ohio, after what she called a complicated chapter in Cleveland. I learned all of this sitting at my kitchen table, while she made us tea. Not coffee, tea. She'd noticed the kettle on my stove, the old copper one Harold brought back from a medical conference in Boston in 1992, and somehow knew that what I needed wasn't caffeine. It was the ritual, the warmth, the simple act of watching steam rise while the world stopped spinning quite so fast. Start from the beginning, she said, setting a cup in front of me. Chamomile. I could smell the honey she'd added without asking. So I told her. Everything. The phone call, David's voice, so professional and urgent, how he knew my bank's name, my address, even the last 4 digits of my account number. How he'd made it all sound so real, so legitimate, so necessary. How I'd sat at Harold's computer and watched my life savings disappear into the void, transaction by transaction, while I followed instructions like a child. Sarah listened without interrupting, didn't check her phone, didn't look away, just listened with a kind of attention that made me understand why people trusted her with their hearts literally. When I finished, my tea had gone cold. You called the bank, she asked. Not yet. I couldn't. The shame rose up again, hot and suffocating. Sarah, you have to understand. My daughter already thinks I can't handle things. My son keeps sending me brochures for senior living communities. If they find out I fell for something this stupid, stop. Her voice was firm but gentle. This wasn't stupid. This was a crime. There's a difference. But I should have known what, that criminals have gotten so sophisticated they can spoof bank phone numbers, that they have access to data breaches containing personal information, that they're trained to create urgency and panic specifically to bypass rational thinking. She leaned forward. Margaret, I see this at the hospital. Smart people, doctors, lawyers, engineers falling for medical scams. It's not about intelligence, it's about exploitation. I wanted to believe her, but the shame sat in my chest like a stone. What do I do? My voice came out small, defeated. Sarah pulled out her phone. First, we call your bank, right now, report the fraud. Then we call the police. Then we start documenting everything, every conversation, every transaction, every detail you remember. And then ... double quotes. She paused, her jaw tightening in a way that made her look older than her years. Then we fight. Fight. Sarah, the money's gone. I watched it disappear. How do we fight ghosts? She looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Something between determination and recognition. Like she was seeing something in my situation that I couldn't see yet. My father was scammed 3 years ago, she said quietly. Different method, same result. He lost $40,000 to a fake IRS scheme. He was a math professor. Brilliant man. But they knew exactly which buttons to push. She took a breath. He was so ashamed he didn't tell anyone for 2 weeks. By then, the trail was cold. The money was gone, unrecoverable. I'm so sorry. Don't be sorry. Be angry. She stood up, because I learned something from watching my father go through that. The system isn't designed to help people like you, like him. The banks treat it like your failure. The police file reports but rarely investigate. Everyone says I'm sorry, but nobody actually fights. So my father just ... accepted it. And I watched that acceptance hollow him out from the inside. She walked to the window, looking out at the street where everything still appeared so beautifully, painfully normal. He died 8 months later, heart attack. But I think the scam killed him long before his heart gave out. It took his dignity, his confidence, his belief that the world was a place where doing the right things led to right outcomes. The kitchen fell silent except for the tick of the grandfather clock in the hallway. I won't let that happen to you, Sarah said, turning back to face me. I couldn't save my father, but I can help you, if you'll let me. I looked at this young woman I'd known for less than an hour, this stranger who'd crossed a property line and somehow stepped into my life at the exact moment it was falling apart. Why? I asked. Why would you do this? She smiled, but it was sad around the edges, because nobody helped him, because I know what it looks like when shame becomes a prison. And because ... double quotes, she hesitated. Because I need to believe that sometimes we get a second chance to do the right thing. There was a story there, a complicated chapter in Cleveland, a reason she was in Willowbrook, working night shifts and living next door to her aunt in a rental house. But that was her story to tell, and this moment wasn't about her history, it was about what happened next. Sarah called First National Bank first. I listened to her navigate the automated system with the efficiency of someone who'd done this before. When she finally got a human being on the line, her voice changed, still polite, but with an edge of steel I hadn't heard before. Yes, I'm calling on behalf of Margaret Patterson, account number ... She looked at me and I recited the number I'd memorized 50 years ago. There's been fraudulent activity, multiple unauthorized transactions totaling over $60,000. We need immediate action. The conversation lasted 23 minutes. I watched Sarah's face shift through a dozen micro-expressions: frustration, anger, calculation, determination. She took notes in neat, precise handwriting. She asked questions I wouldn't have known to ask. She pushed back when they used words like verification and investigation timeline and unlikely recovery. When she finally hung up, she looked exhausted. They've frozen what's left in the account, $1,263. Everything else went through before we called. They're opening a fraud investigation, but ... She set down her pen. They made it very clear that recovery is rare, something about international transfers and cryptocurrency conversions. The hope I'd been building crumbled. So it's really gone. According to them, yes. Sarah met my eyes. But we're not done. The bank is just step one. Now we call the police. The Willowbrook Police Department sent Officer Jason Martinez to my house 45 minutes later. He was young, maybe 27 or 28, with kind eyes and a notebook that he filled with careful handwriting while I told my story for the second time that day. He asked good questions, expressed genuine sympathy, explained that this was part of a larger pattern of elder fraud sweeping through the region. But I could see it in his face before he even said it. Mrs. Patterson, I want to be honest with you. These cases are incredibly difficult to solve. The perpetrators are usually overseas. They use stolen identities, burner phones, and cryptocurrency. By the time we get the report, the money's been laundered through multiple accounts and jurisdictions. So you're saying there's nothing you can do? It wasn't a question. I'm saying we'll file the report. We'll forward it to our financial crimes unit. They'll coordinate with federal agencies. But I don't want to give you false hope about recovery. Sarah had been standing by the window. Now she turned around. What about tracking the phone number, the IP address from the computer access, the routing information from the transfers? Officer Martinez looked at her with something like respect. Those are good questions. The problem is resources. We're a small department. Financial crimes aren't our specialty. The FBI handles most of this, but their threshold for investigation is usually ... double quotes higher than $60,000, Sarah finished. Unfortunately, yes. After Officer Martinez left with his kind eyes and his honest limitations and his report that would probably end up in a file somewhere, Sarah and I sat in my living room as the afternoon faded into evening. I should let you go, I said. You've done so much already. And you probably have to work tonight. I'm off tonight. She looked at the clock. Margaret, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you want to fight this? Really fight it? Because I meant what I said earlier. The system isn't designed to help you. The bank's done their duty by filing a report. The police are limited by resources and jurisdiction. Everyone will tell you they're sorry, but nobody's going to actually do the work to get your money back. Then, what's the point of fighting? Because sometimes the fight isn't about winning, it's about not letting them make you disappear. She leaned forward. And because I think there might be another way. What other way? Sarah pulled out her phone and opened a browser. When my father was scammed, I spent months researching elder fraud. I found online communities of victims trying to help each other, cybersecurity experts who volunteered their time, journalists who investigate these rings, and I learned that sometimes, not often, but sometimes people get their money back. Not through official channels. Through investigation, pressure, and making enough noise that someone with actual power pays attention. She showed me a website, stories of victims who'd fought back, resources, contact information. It won't be easy, Sarah said. It'll take time, energy, and there's no guarantee. But if you're willing to try, if you're willing to let me help you, then we start tomorrow. We document everything. We contact everyone. We make your story impossible to ignore. I looked at this young woman who'd walked into my crisis with tea and determination and stories of her own loss. Why are you really doing this? I asked again. This time, she answered differently. Because 3 years ago, I watched my father give up, and I did nothing. I told myself it wasn't my battle, that he was an adult who could handle it, that getting involved would be ... double quotes, she paused, would be crossing a line I'd spent my whole life trying to maintain. And then he died. And I realized that some lines are meant to be crossed. The grandfather clock struck 6. Outside, the streetlights flickered on, and somewhere in my chest, underneath the shame and fear and exhaustion, something small and stubborn flickered too. Hope, or maybe just the refusal to disappear quietly. Okay, I said. Let's fight, Sarah. Smile, the real smile this time, reaching her eyes. Then we start with the phone call. Every detail you can remember. Because somewhere in those 43 minutes, they made a mistake. They always do. We just have to find it. She opened a fresh page in her notebook, and I began to remember. The details came back in fragments. Not all at once, but in pieces, like a photograph developing slowly in a dark room. Sarah sat across from me with her notebook, asking questions that unlocked memories I didn't know I'd retained. What did his voice sound like? Young, professional, American accent. But ... I closed my eyes, trying to hear it again. There was something underneath, not quite right, like he was reading from a script but trying to sound natural. Did you hear any background noise? I thought about it, reached back into those 43 minutes that had changed everything. Yes, a phone ringing, distant, and maybe ... voices, like a call center. Sarah's pen moved quickly. That's good. That's really good. What about the number he called from? I'd deleted it in panic. But Sarah showed me how to check my phone's call history, even deleted calls. And there it was, a number with my local area code. It looked exactly like the bank's main line, off by just 1 digit. Spoofing, Sarah said. They made their number appear as your bank's. But this ... she photographed the screen. This is evidence. What else? For the next 2 hours, we reconstructed everything. Verification questions. David had asked questions whose answers he somehow already knew, which meant they'd gotten my information from somewhere before they ever called. The urgency he'd created, the fear he'd amplified, the way he'd talked me through downloading software that gave them access to my computer. That software is probably still on there, Sarah said, looking at Harold's old desktop. Don't touch it yet. We might need a forensic analysis. Forensic analysis? Sarah, I can't afford. Let me worry about that. She made another note. What about the account numbers he had you transfer money to? Do you remember any of them? I'd been so panicked at the time, following instructions without really seeing, but Sarah pulled up my email, the confirmation messages the bank had automatically sent. 5 transfers, 5 different account numbers, amounts ranging from $8,000 to $17,000, structured to avoid automatic fraud triggers. They knew exactly what they were doing, Sarah muttered, photographing each email. These accounts are probably shells, money mules, but they're still breadcrumbs. By 8 o'clock, we'd filled 17 pages in Sarah's notebook. My head ached, my heart ached worse, but something else was happening too, something I didn't expect. The shame was beginning to transform into anger. I keep thinking about his voice, I said. How kind he sounded, how concerned, like he was protecting me. And all along he was just taking everything. That's what they do, Sarah said quietly. They weaponize trust. They study how to sound legitimate, how to create panic, how to bypass rational thinking. You didn't fail some test, Margaret. You were targeted by professionals. She closed her notebook. Here's what happens tomorrow. I'm going to contact someone I know from my research. A journalist named Monica Reeves who specializes in financial fraud. She's based in Columbus, but she's helped expose several scam operations. If we can get her interested in your story, why would she be interested? This happens to people every day. Because you're not giving up. And because, double quotes, Sarah hesitated. Because I'm going to make sure your story gets told the right way. Not as a cautionary tale about a foolish old woman, as what it really is, a crime that happens to intelligent, capable people because the system fails to protect them. The conviction in her voice made me believe her. We ordered Chinese food, insisted on paying and ate it at my kitchen table while she explained her plan. Contact the journalist, reach out to cybersecurity experts who volunteer with elder fraud victims, file complaints with the Federal Trade Commission, the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center, and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. None of these guarantee recovery, she warned, but they create a paper trail. They add to statistics that influence policy. And sometimes, if we're lucky, they catch the attention of someone who can actually do something. You've really researched this. For 3 years, she looked down at her lo mein. I told myself I was doing it to help my father. But he was gone. I think I was really doing it to figure out how I could have helped him, what I should have done differently. You were his daughter, not his guardian. I was a nurse. I'm trained to see signs of distress, to intervene, to advocate. Her voice cracked slightly, and I missed all of it because I was so focused on maintaining boundaries, on not being the overbearing daughter he'd raised to be independent. I understood then why she'd crossed the property line so quickly, why she was sitting in my kitchen at 8:30 on a Tuesday night, filling notebooks and making plans and refusing to let me disappear quietly into shame. She wasn't just helping me, she was rewriting an ending she couldn't change. Sarah, I said gently, you can't save your father through me. She looked up, eyes bright with unshed tears. I know, but maybe I can save you, and maybe that's enough. We finished eating in comfortable silence. Sarah left around 9:30, promising to return in the morning. I watched her walk across the dark lawn to her rental house lights, on normal life resuming, and felt a complicated mixture of gratitude and guilt. This young woman barely knew me, yet she'd given her entire evening to my crisis, postponed her own life, carried my burden like it was her own. I didn't know then what it would cost her. I didn't know that helping me would wake up parts of her past she'd come to Willowbrook to escape. I didn't know that fighting for my justice would require her to confront her own. I just knew that for the first time since that phone call, I didn't feel completely alone. The next morning, Sarah knocked on my door at 7:30. She had coffee from the good cafe downtown, the one Harold and I used to visit on Sunday mornings, and a determined expression that made her look like she'd been awake for hours. I contacted Monica Reeves, she said, following me into the kitchen. The journalist, she wants to talk to you, today, if possible, that fast. I may have emphasized certain elements of your story. Sarah looked slightly guilty, and mentioned that you're a widow, that this was your late husband's life insurance and savings, that you're potentially facing homelessness without this money. I'm not facing homelessness, but you could be. $60,000, Margaret, how long can you maintain this house, pay utilities, buy medication, afford food, without that money? I hadn't let myself think about it, hadn't wanted to calculate how close to the edge I really was. My Social Security covers the basics, and I have the $1,200 the bank saved. I won't lose the house, but the reality settled over me like cold water. But I can't afford repairs, or if the furnace breaks, or if I need new medication, or if or if any of the 1,000 things that require money happen, Sarah finished. That's what elder fraud really steals. Not just money, security, options. The cushion between okay and catastrophic. She was right. Harold and I had saved that money over 50 years. $5 here, $20 there. Tax refunds and birthday checks and careful budgeting and saying no to luxuries so we'd have something for emergencies, for old age, for grandchildren's college funds, for dignity, and it was gone. When does she want to talk? I asked. 10 o'clock. She'll do it over video call if you're comfortable with that. I wasn't comfortable, but comfortable wasn't an option anymore. At 10 o'clock, Sarah set up her laptop at my kitchen table. Monica Reeves appeared on screen, a woman in her 40s, with sharp eyes and a kind smile. She'd done her research, knew the statistics, understood the psychology. Mrs. Patterson, thank you for talking with me. I know this isn't easy. Please, call me Margaret. For the third time in 24 hours, I told my story. But this time was different. Monica asked different questions. Not just about the facts, but about the feelings. What I was thinking when David called, how the shame felt, what I feared most about my children finding out. She was building something, not just a report, a narrative. Margaret, I'm going to be honest with you, Monica said after I finished. Financial elder fraud has reached epidemic levels. The FBI estimates Americans over 60 lose over $3 billion annually to scams. $3 billion, and those are just reported cases. Many people never report out of shame. $3 billion. The number was incomprehensible. But here's the thing, Monica continued. The banks and authorities treat each case as isolated, individual failures. What they don't acknowledge is that this is organized crime. Sophisticated operations, often international, specifically targeting older Americans because the system makes you vulnerable and offers little recourse. So, what can we do? We tell your story. I write it not as elderly woman falls for scam, but as system fails to protect vulnerable citizens while organized crime thrives. We put pressure on First National Bank to explain why their fraud detection didn't catch 5 large transfers in 40 minutes. We question why local police lack resources for financial crimes. We make your case a symbol of a larger failure. It sounded overwhelming, public, exposed. And if we do all that, will I get my money back? Monica's expression softened. I can't promise that. What I can promise is that your story will matter. It'll contribute to change. It'll help others avoid the same fate. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes public pressure creates movement where official channels fail. After the call ended, I sat staring at Sarah's laptop screen, now dark and empty. I don't know if I can do this, I admitted. Go public. Have everyone know. My daughter will see it. My son, the whole neighborhood. They're going to find out anyway, Sarah said gently. The question is whether they find out because you're hiding in shame, or because you're fighting back. She was right, but right didn't make it easier. I need to think about it, of course. Sarah started packing up her laptop. Take whatever time you need. But Margaret, Monica's right about one thing. Your story matters. Not because you're a victim, because you're a survivor who's refusing to disappear. After Sarah left, I walked through my house. The living room where Harold and I danced on our 40th anniversary. The kitchen where I taught my daughter to bake. The bedroom where I'd slept alone for 4 years now. Harold's side of the bed still feeling empty. Every corner held memories. Every surface told a story. And I realized that Sarah was asking me to tell one more story. Not the story of foolish Margaret who fell for a scam, but the story of Margaret who fought back. Picked up my phone. My daughter's number was right there. One call, one conversation. Admit everything. Face her worry, her disappointment. Maybe her "I told you so" about me being too old to live alone. My finger hovered over her name. Then I set the phone down. Not yet. First, I'd try Sarah's way. Fight first. Confess later. Maybe I could face my children with a different story. Not I lost everything, but I lost everything and I'm getting it back. I called Sarah. Tell Monica yes, I said. Tell her I'll do the story. There was a pause. Then Sarah's voice, warm with something that sounded like pride. Okay, we start tomorrow, but tonight you rest. Because what comes next isn't going to be easy. She was right about that. What came next would test everything I thought I knew about justice, about trust, about the line between helping and falling. But I didn't know that yet. All I knew was that somewhere between the shame and the anger, I'd found something I hadn't felt in a long time. Purpose. Monica's story ran on Thursday morning. Not in some small local paper, but in the Columbus Dispatch, front page of the online edition, above the fold in print. The $3 billion blind spot. How elder fraud thrives while systems look away. My photograph was there. The one Sarah had taken of me standing in my kitchen, holding Harold's old coffee mug. I looked older than I felt. Tired, but not defeated. That's what Monica had captured, the defiance underneath. The exhaustion. The article didn't just tell my story. It dissected it, explained how spoofing technology works, interviewed cybersecurity experts about the sophistication of modern fraud rings, quoted FBI statistics about international crime syndicates, Called out First National Bank by name for their fraud detection failures, and then it did something I didn't expect. It ended with a phone number. Monica's direct line, for other victims to call. Sarah brought the paper to my house at 6 in the morning. She'd already been up for hours, monitoring the online response. "It's going viral," she said, setting her laptop on my kitchen table. 15,000 shares on social media. Comments are pouring in. "Margaret, look at this." She scrolled through the responses. Hundreds of them, thousands. Stories from other victims, from children whose parents had been scammed, from financial professionals expressing outrage, from people tagging their local representatives, demanding action. This one's from Arizona, Sarah said, pointing. Woman lost 40,000 to the same type of call. Never reported it because of shame. She's reporting it now because of your story. And this one, she continued, scrolling. Minnesota, 82-year-old man, similar timeline. He's contacting Monica. I read through the comments with shaking hands. Some were supportive. Some were cruel people saying, I should have known better, that I was stupid, that I deserved to lose the money for being so gullible. But most were just ... human. People recognizing themselves or their parents in my story. People angry at a system that protects banks more than citizens. People who'd been waiting for someone to say that this wasn't about individual failure. It was about systematic exploitation. Your phone's going to start ringing, Sarah warned. Monica's article included your statement that you're willing to talk to other victims. People are going to reach out. She was right. The first call came at 7:15. A woman from Dayton named Patricia, 79 years old, lost $38,000 to a Social Security scam 3 months ago. Hadn't told anyone except her sister. I saw your picture, she said, voice trembling. And I thought, if she can be brave enough to go public, maybe I can be brave enough to file a report. I talked to her for 45 minutes, told her what Sarah had taught me, that shame was the scammer's best weapon, that silence let them win twice. When they took the money, again when they took our voices, by noon, I'd received 16 calls. By evening, 32. Each one was a story. Each story was a wound. And somehow, in the sharing, the wounds felt less isolating. Sarah stayed with me all day, helping screen calls, taking notes, building what she called pattern documentation. Look at this, she said around 3 o'clock, spreading papers across my dining room table. Same script, almost word for word. Same urgency tactics, same fake software downloads. Margaret, these aren't isolated scammers. This is an organization. She was building something. I could see it in the way her mind worked, connecting dots, finding patterns, constructing a map of something bigger than my individual loss. What are you thinking? I asked. I'm thinking that if we can identify enough victims with matching details, we create a case too big for the FBI to ignore. One $62,000 theft is a statistic, but 50 people losing to $1 million combined, that's a pattern. That's something they have to investigate. Her phone rang. She glanced at the screen, and her face went pale. I need to take this, she said, standing abruptly. I'll be right back. She walked out to my backyard, phone pressed to her ear. Through the window, I watched her body language shift, shoulders tensing, hand moving in sharp, frustrated gestures. The call lasted 8 minutes. When she came back inside, something had changed. The determination in her eyes had been replaced by something harder, something that looked like fear trying to disguise itself as resolve. Everything okay? I asked. Fine. The word came too quickly. Just ... work stuff. They need me to pick up an extra shift this weekend. She was lying. I'd been married for 47 years, raised 2 children, taught elementary school for 33 years. I knew what lying looked like, but I also knew what boundaries looked like. And Sarah had crossed enough of hers for me already. Thank you, I said instead, for everything you're doing. I know this is taking time away from your life. This is my life right now. She managed to smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. Besides, we're making progress. Monica called earlier. She's received over 100 responses from victims. She's planning a follow-up article. And she's been contacted by a state senator's office. They want to discuss potential legislation requiring banks to have better fraud detection for elder accounts, mandatory reporting timelines, increased resources for financial crime investigation. It's preliminary, but ... she shrugged. Sometimes that's how change starts. One story that refuses to be ignored. That night, after Sarah went home, I sat in Harold's reading chair and thought about what she'd said. One story that refuses to be ignored. Was that what I was becoming? A symbol? A catalyst? Or was I just a 73-year-old widow who'd been foolish enough to trust the wrong voice? The phone rang again. This time it wasn't another victim, it was my daughter. Mom. Jessica's voice was tight, controlled. I just read an article in the Columbus Dispatch. Please tell me that's not you. My heart stopped. Jessica, how long? She interrupted. How long have you known about this? 3 days. 3 days. 3 days you've been dealing with this alone. 3 days you didn't call me. Instead, I find out from a newspaper article that my mother lost $60,000 and is apparently becoming some kind of fraud victim spokesperson. The disappointment in her voice hurt worse than the scam. I was going to tell you, I just... I wanted to try to fix it first. Fix it, Mom. You can't fix this. This is exactly what David and I have been worried about. You living alone, making these kinds of mistakes. It wasn't a mistake. The anger surprised both of us. It was a crime. There's a difference. Silence, on the other end. Then, softer. Mom, I know you're upset, but you have to see this practically. If you can't manage your finances safely, maybe it's time to consider, don't. My voice came out sharper than intended. Don't use this as evidence that I need to move. I'm not giving up my home because criminals exist. I'm not saying permanently. Just ... until we figure out a safer situation. David and I have been looking at communities near us in Seattle. Really nice places. Independent living, but with oversight. Financial, management services. You'd be safe. Safe. The word tasted like surrender. Jessica, I appreciate your concern, but I'm handling this. I have help, and I'm not moving to Seattle. Help. From who? That journalist who's turning your trauma into a news story. From my neighbor, Sarah. She's been incredible. Your neighbor. Mom, you don't even know this woman. How long has she lived there? A month. And you're trusting her with sensitive financial information, with media connections. Have you considered that maybe she has her own agenda? The suggestion hit like cold water. Sarah's been nothing but kind and helpful. So was the man on the phone who stole $60,000. The parallel was intentional, cruel, even but effective. After we hung up, Jessica, promising to fly out next week to assess the situation, me, promising to be careful, I sat in the darkening living room and let doubt creep in. Did I know Sarah Chen? Really know her? She'd appeared at the exact moment I needed someone, crossed a property line with perfect timing, knew exactly what to say, exactly how to help, had all this research ready, all these connections prepared. What were the odds? I walked to the window and looked at her rental house next door. Lights were on. I could see her silhouette moving through the kitchen. She'd been taking calls all day, giving her time, her energy, her expertise. But why? She'd said it was about her father, about second chances, about crossing lines she should have crossed 3 years ago. But Jessica's words echoed. You don't even know this woman. My phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. Are you okay? Saw a Seattle number in your call log before I left? If you need to talk, I'm next door. She'd seen my call log. Of course she had. We'd been documenting everything together. She had access to my phone, my computer, my financial records. I'd given her everything, just like I'd given David everything 3 days ago. The paranoia was immediate and suffocating. I stood there, phone in hand, staring at Sarah's text, feeling the ground shift underneath my certainty. What if Jessica was right? What if I'd simply traded one scammer for another? The knock on my door made me jump. Through the peephole I saw Sarah on my porch, still in her scrubs from earlier, holding something. I opened the door slowly. I'm sorry for coming over uninvited, she said. But you looked upset when I left. And then your daughter called, and I wanted to make sure you were okay. She held out what she'd been carrying. A folder, thick with papers. What's this? Everything. Every document I've created for your case. Every contact I've made. Every note from every conversation. My research on elder fraud. My credentials, nursing license. References from St. Mary's, background check information. Even my father's death certificate and the police report from his scam. She set it on the hall table. Your daughter's worried. And she should be. You've been through trauma, and now you're trusting a stranger. So here's everything about me. Everything about what I'm doing and why. You can verify all of it. You can call the hospital. You can contact my references. You can even call my aunt across the street. Her voice cracked slightly. I'm not trying to scam you, Margaret. I'm not trying to take advantage of your vulnerability. I'm just trying to help. But if you need me to prove that, if you need me to earn your trust, instead of assuming it, understand. She turned to leave. Sarah, she stopped. Come in, I said, please. We sat at my kitchen table again, the folder between us. Jessica thinks I'm being naive, I said. Trusting you too quickly. She's probably right to worry. She is right to worry. Sarah looked me in the eyes. You should be suspicious. You should verify everything. You should protect yourself. That's not paranoia. That's wisdom after trauma. So tell me, I said. Tell me why you're really doing this. Not the version about your father, the whole truth. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. Then she opened the folder and pulled out a photograph. It showed a younger Sarah, maybe 28 or 28, standing next to an older Asian man with kind eyes and a professor's gentle demeanor. My father, Daniel Chen, she said softly. This was taken 6 months before the scam. He was 69, brilliant mathematician, devoted parent. The kind of man who believed in systems, in logic, in the fundamental rationality of the world. She traced the edge of the photograph. When he got scammed, it wasn't just about the money, it was about his entire worldview shattering. If he's someone who understood probability, statistics, risk assessment, could be fooled, then nothing was certain. Nothing was safe. And you think you failed him? I know I failed him. Her voice was raw. I was so busy being the independent daughter he'd raised, so focused on proving I didn't need to be rescued or managed, that when he needed me to step in, to cross the boundary between adult child and protective caregiver, I couldn't do it. I didn't even see it needed to happen until it was too late. She looked up at me. That phone call I got today, that was my mother. She's been calling all week since she saw Monica's article. She recognized my name in one line, with help from neighbor Sarah Chen, and she's angry. Says I'm reopening wounds. Says I'm making Dad's death about me. Says I need to stop playing hero and deal with my own guilt instead of projecting it onto strangers. The honesty was startling. Is she right? I asked gently. Probably. Sarah smiled sadly. But even if I'm doing this for the wrong reasons, the help is still real. The research is still valid. The connections are still useful. Does motivation matter if the outcome helps you? It was a fair question. I opened the folder, looked through the documents. Everything was there, exactly what she'd promised. Credentials, references, documented research, nothing hidden. Your mother's in Cleveland, I asked, connecting pieces. Yes, that's the complicated chapter I mentioned. I moved here to get away from her constant reminder of everything I didn't do for Dad. Every conversation became about my failure. Every holiday was a memorial to my absence when he needed me. So I ran, found a job at St. Mary's, rented a house next to my aunt, started over. She closed the folder. And then you walked to your mailbox, looking like my father looked in those last months, lost, ashamed, carrying weight that wasn't yours to carry alone. And I thought, ... double quotes, she paused. I thought maybe this time I could get it right. The grandfather clock ticked in the hallway. Outside, the October night had turned cold, and I made a choice, not based on logic or verification or protecting myself from further harm, based on something simpler and infinitely more complicated. Faith. Thank you for being honest, I said, and for the documents, but I don't need to verify them. Margaret, I'm choosing to trust you. Not because I'm naive, because trust is the thing they tried to steal from me, and I won't let them have it. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. That might be the bravest thing I've heard anyone say. We sat there in the kitchen where Harold used to read the morning paper, where my children learned to tie their shoes, where life had unfolded in ordinary moments for 5 decades, and something shifted between us. Not quite friendship yet, too new for that. Not quite alliance, too personal for that. Something else. Something that didn't have a name but felt like the beginning of family by choice rather than blood. So what's next? I asked. Sarah wiped her eyes and pulled out her notebook. Next, we take what Monica built and push it further. I've been mapping victim stories. 32 people with nearly identical experiences, similar scripts, similar timelines, similar technical details. If we can get them to file coordinated reports all at once, all with pattern documentation, we create something the FBI can't ignore. How do we coordinate 32 people across different states? Sarah smiled. I'm working on that. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and her expression changed. Margaret, I need to show you something. She pulled up an email. It was from an anonymous account. No signature, just a message. Stop investigating. You're looking where you shouldn't. This is your only warning. The email had been sent to Sarah's personal account, the one she'd use for all her research. The one that shouldn't be connected to my case publicly. When did this come in? I asked. 20 minutes ago. Right after I posted in a victim support forum about coordinating reports. We looked at each other. Someone was watching. Someone knew what we were doing. And they wanted us to stop. Sarah screenshot the email. Then, she did something I didn't expect. She smiled. Not a happy smile. Something harder. Something that looked like satisfaction mixed with vindication. This is good, she said. Good, Sarah. Someone just threatened you. Threatened us. And yes, that's exactly why it's good. She enlarged the email on her screen. Scammers don't send warnings unless you're getting close to something. If we were just two people filing useless reports, they'd ignore us. But we're not anymore. We're building a coordinated case. We're connecting victims. We're creating pattern evidence. She pointed to the email header. And they just made their first mistake. This came from a VPN, but there are digital fingerprints in metadata, the timestamp, the routing information. If we forward this to the right people, they can potentially trace it. Who are the right people? I'm about to find out. Sarah forwarded the email to Monica Reeves, to the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center, and to someone she called a friend who works in cybersecurity. Then she turned to me. With an expression I was beginning to recognize the look she got when she was about to cross another line. I need to tell you something, and you're not going to like it. My stomach tightened. When I started researching elder fraud 3 years ago, after my father died, I didn't just read articles and file reports. I went deeper. I found online communities where victims help each other, forums where people share information about scammers, and I found other places too, other places. Places where people don't just document scams, they investigate them, track them, sometimes even engage with scammers to gather evidence. She paused. It's not exactly legal. It's not exactly safe, but it's effective. Sarah, I'm not saying I did anything illegal. I'm saying I learned things, developed contacts. One of them is a former FBI cybercrime analyst who now freelances as a consultant. His name is Marcus Webb. He's helped trace several fraud operations. And when I forwarded him this threat email, he called me back in under 5 minutes. Her phone rang as if on cue. She answered on speaker. Marcus, I'm here with Margaret Patterson. You're on speaker. A man's voice came through, measured, professional, with the careful diction of someone used to testifying in court. Mrs. Patterson, I've reviewed the email Sarah forwarded. I've also reviewed the patent documentation she's been building from victim reports. I need to ask you both a direct question. How serious are you about pursuing this? I looked at Sarah. She looked at me. Serious, I said. Then you need to understand what you're dealing with. This isn't a lone scammer with a burner phone. Based on the technical sophistication, the coordinated targeting, and the script consistency across victims, you're looking at an organized operation, likely international, possibly with ties to larger criminal networks. My mouth went dry. You're saying we're in danger. I'm saying that threat email is both a warning and a tell they wouldn't threaten you if they couldn't locate you, which means they've identified Sarah through her forum posts. And if they've identified her, they can potentially identify you. Sarah's jaw tightened. What do you recommend? Officially, I recommend you stop investigating, file your reports through proper channels, and let federal authorities handle it. He paused. Unofficially, I recommend you get ahead of them. Build your case faster than they can shut you down. And accept my help. What kind of help? I asked. The kind where I analyze that threat email's metadata, trace its routing, and potentially identify the server it originated from. The kind where I help you coordinate victim reports in a way that creates ironclad pattern evidence. The kind where I leverage my former FBI contacts to ensure your case gets to the right desk instead of lost in bureaucracy. Why would you do that? Sarah asked. You don't know us. No, but I know what these operations do. Spent 12 years at the FBI watching elderly victims lose everything while we lacked resources to investigate. I left because I was tired of telling people there was nothing we could do. Now I do something." His voice softened. "And Sarah, you were persistent. You've been emailing me questions for 3 years, never asking for free work, just asking for guidance. Most people give up. You didn't. That matters." Sarah's face flushed. "I didn't think you remembered. I remember everyone who doesn't give up. So here's my offer. I'll consult on this case pro bono, help you build evidence, guide your investigation, but you both need to understand the risks. These people protect their operations." That email wasn't a bluff. I thought about Harold, about 50 years of careful saving, about the shame that had nearly broken me, about the 32 other victims who'd called, each carrying their own version of my story. "What do we need to do?" I asked. For the next hour, Marcus walked us through a strategy. First, document everything about the threat. Change passwords. Enable two-factor authentication. Be aware of surroundings. Don't travel alone. Consider temporary security cameras. Second, accelerate victim coordination. Marcus would create a secure portal where victims could submit information directly. Pattern documentation that couldn't be intercepted or monitored by anyone watching public forums. Third, prepare for escalation. Once we filed coordinated reports, there would be media attention, public exposure, potential retaliation. "Mrs. Patterson," Marcus said, "are you prepared for your story to become very public? Once this breaks properly, once we have enough victims to make a federal case, you'll likely become the face of it." Monica's article was just the beginning. "I'm 73 years old," I said. "I've buried a husband, raised 2 children, taught 600 elementary students, and survived losing everything I'd saved. I think I can handle public attention." Marcus laughed, a genuine sound that made him seem more human than FBI analyst. "Then, we have work to do. I'll have the secure portal up by tomorrow morning. Sarah has victim contact information. Start reaching out. Explain what we're building. Get them to submit detailed reports through the portal. The more comprehensive the data, the stronger the case." After the call ended, Sarah and I sat in silence. The kitchen clock showed 11:15. Outside, Willowbrook slept peacefully, houses dark, streets empty, everyone secure in their ordinary lives. "Are you scared?" I asked, terrified. Sarah looked at me. "Are you?" "Yes, but also ... I searched for the word. "Alive. For the first time in 4 years. I feel like I'm doing something that matters, something Harold would be proud of." Sarah reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "He would be. And Margaret, thank you." "For what?" "For letting me be part of this. For trusting me even when you probably shouldn't. For ... double quotes. She blinked back tears. "For giving me a chance to get it right this time." She left around midnight. I watched from my window as she walked across the dark lawn, checking over her shoulder. Twiza, new habit born from threat emails and criminal warnings. Sleep didn't come easily that night. I lay in bed listening to the house settle, every creak suddenly sinister, every shadow potentially threatening. The rational part of my brain knew I was safe. Willowbrook was a quiet suburb, my doors were locked. Sarah was next door. But the irrational part, the part that had trusted David's professional voice and watched my life savings disappear, whispered different stories. What if they found me? What if the threat wasn't a bluff? What if fighting back made everything worse? I must have dozed eventually, because the next thing I knew, sunlight was streaming through my bedroom window, and my phone was ringing, Sarah's name on the screen. "Margaret, you need to see this." She was at my door in 5 minutes, laptop in hand. Marcus had worked through the night. The secure portal was live, a clean, professional interface where victims could submit detailed reports anonymously if they chose, or with full identification if they were willing to go public. But that wasn't what had Sarah's hands shaking. Marcus traced the threat email, she said, opening a document. He couldn't get an exact location, but he narrowed the server origin. "Margaret, it came from the United States. I thought you said these operations were international." "The scam likely is. But the threat came from domestic servers. Which means either they have operations here, or ... double quotes." She paused, looking uncomfortable. "Or someone local is monitoring our investigation." The implications settled slowly. "You think someone in Willowbrook is involved?" I think someone with proximity to our activities sent that email. It could be monitoring forum posts, tracking Monica's article responses, or ... She hesitated. Or something closer. Before I could process that, Sarah's phone rang. Monica Reeves. Sarah, I need to talk to both of you. Can you meet me in Columbus this afternoon? Something's happened. 2 hours later, Sarah and I sat in a cafe in downtown Columbus. Monica arrived with a leather bag and an expression that blended excitement with concern. You're being careful? She asked immediately. The threat email Marcus forwarded it to Muir. Taking precautions, we're being careful, Sarah assured her. Good, because this story is bigger than I thought. Monica pulled out a folder. After my article ran, I received 114 responses from victims. I've been documenting them, looking for patterns. And I found something interesting. She spread documents across our table. Look at the dates. 43 people were scammed in the last 6 months. All from Ohio, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. All within a 200-mile radius. All using nearly identical scripts. But here's what's strange: this scam rate accelerated dramatically 3 months ago. She showed us a timeline. January through July, sporadic incidents. August 12 victims. September 19 victims. October, just 2 weeks in, 12 victims including me. Something changed in August, Monica said. Either they refined their operation, or they expanded their calling list, or they got access to better target data. Marcus is analyzing the victim profiles, but preliminary assessment suggests they're getting information from somewhere. Data breaches? Sarah asked. Possibly, but the targeting is too specific. They're not just calling random seniors, they're calling seniors with significant savings, who bank at specific institutions, who match particular demographic profiles. Someone is feeding them curated lists. The cafe suddenly felt too cold. Who would have access to that kind of information? I asked. Monica's expression darkened. That's the question. Banks, insurance companies, medical providers, senior service organizations, any entity that collects financial and demographic data on elderly clients. If someone inside one of those organizations is selling information, ... double quotes. She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. There's something else, Monica continued. 2 of the victims I interviewed mentioned something odd. They said that a few weeks before the scam call, they'd received a legitimate-seeming survey. Something about senior services or Medicare benefits. Very official. They both filled it out, completely financial information, bank names, account numbers, everything. Sarah leaned forward. A pre-scam intelligence gather. Exactly. Get people to voluntarily provide detailed information under the guise of a legitimate survey. Then use that information to make the actual scam call more convincing. It's sophisticated. And it suggests organization. My coffee had gone cold. I thought about the weeks before David's call. Had I received a survey? I couldn't remember. Everything before that Tuesday morning felt fuzzy now, overshadowed by what came after. What do we do with this information? I asked. We document it. We include it in the coordinated reports going to the FBI. We establish that this isn't random crime, it's orchestrated, targeting of vulnerable populations using insider information. Monica closed her folder. And we prepare for backlash. Backlash. Margaret, you're alleging that somewhere, in a legitimate organization, maybe multiple organizations, someone is facilitating elder fraud. When that accusation goes public, there will be denials, legal threats, pressure to retract. These are powerful entities with expensive lawyers. Are you saying we shouldn't pursue it? I'm saying you need to be sure. Because once we make this accusation, there's no taking it back. Your name will be attached to it. Your credibility will be questioned. Your motives will be examined. It will get ugly. I looked at Sarah. She looked at me. My husband died 4 years ago, I said slowly. And in those 4 years, I've been invisible. A widow. A senior citizen. Someone people speak to louder and slower, assuming I can't understand. Someone who gets patronized and dismissed and told what's best for me. Well, I'm done being invisible. If telling my story makes some powerful people uncomfortable, good. Maybe they should be uncomfortable. Monica smiled, a real smile this time. Then let's make them very uncomfortable. I'm writing a follow-up article about the data targeting, the insider information theory, the accelerating victim rate, It'll run Monday. I'll need you both on record, which means your names will be prominent. Are you ready for that? Sarah's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and went pale. What? I asked. She turned the screen toward me. Another email. Same anonymous account. Last warning. Stop now, or we release everything. Below the text was an attachment. Sarah's hands trembled as she opened it. It was a photograph of her father's grave, recent, taken within the last few days, based on the flowers that Monica and I had seen at the cemetery being fresh. Someone had been to Daniel Chen's grave in Cleveland. Someone had photographed it. Someone was sending a message. Monica's expression hardened. Forward that to Marcus immediately. And to the police. That's not a threat anymore. That's targeted harassment. But Sarah wasn't looking at Monica. She was staring at the photograph with an expression I couldn't read. Sarah, I touched her arm. Are you okay? They know where my father is buried. Her voice was hollow. They know I'm from Cleveland. They know enough about me to find his grave. Which means ... double quotes, which means they know a lot more than what you've posted publicly, Monica finished. Sarah, this changes things. You might need to consider stepping back. Let Margaret continue with Marcus and me, but keep yourself protected. No, the word came out. Sharp, final. They want me scared. They want me to stop. That's exactly why I won't. She looked at me with something fierce burning in her eyes. My father spent his last months scared, ashamed, looking over his shoulder. I won't do that. I won't let them turn his grave into a weapon. If anything, this makes me more determined. Monica and I exchanged glances. Then, we move faster, Monica said. Get the coordinated reports filed. Get the pattern evidence to the FBI. Get this story public. Before they have time to do whatever they're planning. We go on offense. We spent the next 3 hours in that cafe planning. Marcus called in with updates. The secure portal had 28 victim submissions already. The pattern evidence was compelling. He had a contact at the FBI's Cincinnati field office who specialized in organized fraud. If we could get comprehensive reports filed by Monday, he could potentially fast-track the case. Monday, 4 days away, 4 days to coordinate, 30-plus victims across multiple states, for days to document everything, for days to prepare for whatever backlash came. By the time Sarah and I drove back to Willowbrook, the October afternoon had turned gray and cold. Thank you for not leaving, I said as we crossed the city limits. Thank you for not asking me to. We drove in silence for a while. Then Sarah said something that surprised me. I'm glad they threatened me. What? I'm glad they made it personal. Went after my father's memory, because now I know this isn't just about helping you get justice. It's about my justice too. My father's justice. Every victim's justice. She gripped the steering wheel tighter. They picked the wrong people to threaten. When we pulled into my driveway, the sun was setting behind the houses. Normal Friday evening in Willowbrook. Kids playing basketball 3 houses down. Mrs. Chen watering her plants. The Morrison family unpacking groceries. Everything looked so peaceful. But peace was an illusion now. Somewhere, someone was watching, planning, preparing their next move, and we were preparing ours. Sarah walked me to my door. Lock everything tonight, she said. I'll be right next door if you need anything. Sarah, that photograph of your father's grave, how are you really feeling? She was quiet for a moment. Angry, violated, but also ... She looked at me, also strangely grateful, because for 3 years I've been carrying guilt about not fighting for him, and now I get to fight. Not for him, he's gone, but because of him. Maybe that's the same thing. After she left, I stood in my living room and looked around. Harold's chair, our wedding photo, the marks on the doorframe, 50 years of life compressed into furniture and memories. They'd stolen my money. Now they were trying to steal my courage. But courage, I was learning, wasn't the absence of fear. It was deciding that some things mattered more than being afraid. The weekend passed in a blur of phone calls and documentation. Sarah had taken a leave of absence from the hospital using her accumulated vacation time, she said, though I suspected it cost her more than she admitted. She practically lived at my kitchen table, laptop open, phone always ringing, connecting victims and building the case that Marcus needed. By Saturday evening, we had 41 detailed victim reports submitted through the secure portal. By Sunday morning, 53. The stories were hauntingly similar. The fake urgency, The spoofed phone numbers, the professional voices that knew just enough personal information to seem legitimate, the shame that followed, the silence that came after. One woman from Pittsburgh had lost $89,000, her entire retirement, and hadn't told her husband for 6 weeks. She'd been sleeping in their guest room, pretending everything was fine, while internally collapsing. A man from Wheeling had lost $43,000 and attempted suicide 2 days later. His daughter found him in time. He was in therapy now, slowly rebuilding. He submitted his report with shaking hands, his daughter told us, but he submitted it. Each story felt like holding someone's broken heart. "How do you do this?" I asked Sarah on Sunday afternoon. We'd been working for 8 hours straight. My eyes burned, my head ached. "How do you read these stories and not just ... break?" She looked up from her laptop, eyes red-rimmed from exhaustion. "I think about my father, how he carried this alone, how he died carrying it, and I think ... double quotes." She paused. "I think that if we can keep even one person from dying alone with their shame, then all of this matters." Marcus called Sunday evening with updates. 53 reports. Pattern documentation is solid. "I'm meeting with my FBI contact Tuesday morning, but Margaret, Sarah, you both need to understand something. Even with strong evidence, even with coordinated victims, recovery is unlikely. The money moves too fast, gets converted, transferred, laundered through too many jurisdictions. The goal here isn't necessarily getting your money back." "Then what is the goal?" I asked. "Shutting them down, preventing future victims, creating enough legal pressure that these operations become too risky to continue. And maybe if we identify the insider feeding them information, we can prosecute someone domestically. That's the real win, not the scammers overseas. The traitor here." After he hung up, I sat with that reality. Might never see my $62,000 again. Harold's life insurance, our savings, the cushion we'd built over 5 decades, gone. But maybe something else could be built instead, something that mattered differently. Monday morning arrived cold and bright. Monica's follow-up article published at 6 a.m., The Insider Threat: How Elder Fraud Rings Accessed Private Data to Target Victims. It was longer than the first article, more detailed, more accusatory. She'd interviewed cybersecurity experts about data breaches and insider threats, quoted victims about pre-scammed surveys, analyzed the geographic clustering and demographic targeting, and she'd called out specific institutions, not by name yet, but by type. Banks, insurance providers, senior services organizations. Someone, somewhere in those trusted systems, was selling us out. The response was immediate and explosive. By 9 a.m., Monica had received C. Sanders' letters from 3 different corporate legal teams. By 10, she'd been contacted by 2 state representatives' offices wanting to discuss the allegations. By 11, the article had been shared 42,000 times on social media. And by noon, my daughter was at my door. I hadn't told Jessica that Monica's second article was publishing, hadn't warned her that my name would be even more prominent, my story more detailed, my accusations more serious. She found out the same way thousands of others did, scrolling through news on her phone. "Mom," she stood on my porch in her Seattle business casual, carry-on bag at her feet, expression somewhere between fury and fear. "We need to talk." I let her in. Sarah was at my kitchen table. Naturally, she'd been there since 7, monitoring the article's response, fielding calls from new victims, coordinating with Marcus. Jessica saw her, and something in her face hardened. "You must be the neighbor, Sarah Chen." Sarah stood, extending her hand. "You must be Jessica. Your mother talks about you often." Jessica didn't take her hand. "Can we speak privately, Mom? Anything you need to say, you can say in front of Sarah. She's been helping. Is that what we're calling this?" Jessica pulled out her phone, opening Monica's article. "You're accusing major financial institutions of insider fraud. You're the named source in allegations that could result in lawsuits. You've received threats, and you didn't think to call me. I was going to call when, after something happened to you, after these people, whoever they are, decided threats weren't enough." She looked at Sarah. "And you've been encouraging this, pushing my mother into a public battle with organized criminals." Sarah's expression remained calm, professional, the nurse face I'd seen her use when delivering difficult news. "I've been helping your mother fight for justice. There's a difference between encouraging and supporting. She made this choice. I'm just making sure she doesn't fight alone. She shouldn't be fighting at all. She should have reported the fraud and moved on. Let the authorities handle it, not become some crusader against financial crime. Jessica turned back to me. Mom, do you understand what you've done? You've made yourself a target. You've made our family a target. David is furious. He thinks you've lost perspective. And honestly, I'm starting to agree. The words hit like physical blows. I haven't lost perspective. I've found purpose. Purpose. Jessica's laugh was sharp. You've found obsession. Look at yourself. You look exhausted. You're not eating properly. Don't think I didn't notice how much weight you've lost. You're receiving threats. And for what? The money's gone. Mom, it's gone. No amount of investigating or article writing or FBI reporting will bring it back. This isn't about the money anymore. Then what is it about? I looked at Sarah, at the laptop covered in victim reports, at the documentation we'd built, at the pattern evidence that might prevent others from losing what I'd lost. It's about not being invisible, I said quietly. It's about refusing to be a statistic. It's about about the life we built, about not letting criminals and systems and people who say, I'm sorry but there's nothing we can do, have the final word. Jessica sat down heavily. Dad wouldn't want this. He'd want you safe. He'd want you to accept what happened and move forward. Not wage some impossible war against your father's spent 43 years fighting for his patients. My voice came out stronger than I expected. Fighting insurance companies that denied coverage. Fighting pharmaceutical companies that priced medications out of reach. Fighting systems that valued profit over people. He never accepted nothing we can do as an answer. And neither will I. The kitchen fell silent except for the grandfather clock ticking in the hallway. Jessica looked at her hands. I came here to take you back to Seattle. David and I found a beautiful community, independent living, financial management included. You'd be safe, cared for, protected from situations like this. I don't want to be protected from life, Jessica. I want to live it, even if it kills you. The question hung in the air. Sarah's phone rang. She glanced at it, then at me. It's Marcus. He's at the FBI now. I should take it, I said. Speakerphone, Sarah answered. Marcus, you're on speaker with Margaret and her daughter Jessica. Good timing. I'm calling from the parking lot of the Cincinnati FBI field office. I just finished the meeting with Special Agent Linda Kozlowski. She's the lead on financial crimes for the region. He paused. She's taking the case. My heart stopped. Taking it. As in actually investigating. As in opening a formal investigation. The pattern documentation was compelling. The victim coordination was unprecedented. The insider threat angle got her attention. She's assembling a task force in cooperation with Ohio, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia authorities. They're moving fast. Sarah grabbed my hand. What does this mean practically? She asked. It means interviews with all willing victims. It means subpoenas for financial records. It means investigating potential insider sources at institutions matching the targeting pattern. It means this is real. This is happening. You did it. Jessica was staring at me with an expression I couldn't read. There's one more thing, Marcus continued. Agent Kozlowski wants to meet with you, Margaret, and Sarah, tomorrow morning if possible. She has questions about the threat emails, about the victim coordination, about your investigative process. She's also concerned about your safety. She's recommending protective measures until they can assess the threat level. Protective measures. Jessica's voice cut through. As in my mother is in enough danger that the FBI wants to protect her. As in your mother is the primary witness in an emerging case against organized fraud. Yes, there's potential risk. That's why Jessica hung up the phone. Just reached over and ended the call. Mom, this is insane. You're in danger. The FBI is involved. You're at the center of something that could, her voice broke, something that could get you hurt, or worse, and you want to keep going. I thought about Harold's last days, how he'd fought until the very end, how he'd never given up, even when giving up would have been easier. Yes, I said, I want to keep going. Jessica stood abruptly. Then I can't support this. I can't watch you destroy yourself over money that's already gone. I can single quotes T. She grabbed her bag. I'm staying at a hotel tonight. I need to think, but Mom, please reconsider. Come back to Seattle with me. Let this go. Let someone else fight this battle. There is no someone else, sweetheart. There's just us, the victims, the people the system forgot about. Jessica walked to the door, then turned back. You know what the worst part is? You're becoming someone I don't recognize, someone Dad wouldn't recognize. He was a fighter, yes, but he was also practical. He knew when to fight and when to protect what mattered most. She looked at me with tears streaming down her face. And what matters most is you being alive and safe. Not this, not any of this. She left. The door closing behind her sounded like something breaking. Sarah and I sat in the silence that followed. She's not wrong, Sarah said quietly. This is dangerous. The FBI involvement confirms that. Maybe you should consider. Don't you dare. I turned to her. Don't you dare suggest I quit now. Not after everything. I'm not suggesting you quit. I'm suggesting you consider your daughter's perspective. She's scared. She's watching her mother take risks that could what? Get me killed. I laughed, but it came out bitter. Sarah, I'm 73 years old. My husband is dead. My children live across the country. I spend most days alone in this house, talking to photographs and memories. The scammers didn't just take my money. They took the last thing Harold left, me security, purpose. The belief that I'd done something right. I stood, pacing to the window. Getting that back, helping others get that back, that's worth the risk. That's worth Jessica's disappointment. That's worth whatever comes next. Sarah joined me at the window. Outside, Willowbrook continued its ordinary Monday afternoon. School buses, dropping off children, neighbors checking mailboxes, Mrs. Chen raking leaves that had fallen over the weekend. My mother said something similar when I told her about helping you, Sarah said. She said I was risking my career, my safety, my future, for someone I barely knew. She said I was trying to save my father through you, that I needed therapy, not a crusade. What did you tell her? I told her she was probably right, and that I was doing it anyway. She turned to face me, because some things matter more than being safe. Some things matter more than being practical, and sometimes the only way forward is through the fear. My phone rang. Marcus, calling back. Sorry about that, I said, answering. My daughter is ... concerned. She should be. This is serious. But Margaret, we're too close to stop now. Agent Kozłowski wants to meet you both at 9 a.m. tomorrow at the Cincinnati field office. Can you make it? I looked at Sarah. She nodded. We'll be there, I said. After the call, Sarah and I spent the rest of the afternoon preparing what to bring, what to say, how to present the evidence we'd gathered. Marcus sent detailed instructions, documentation organized chronologically, victim reports anonymized but accessible, threat emails preserved with full metadata. Around 6, Sarah's phone buzzed with a text. She read it and her face went white. What? I asked. She turned the screen toward me. Her mother, I know what you're doing. Stop before you destroy what's left of this family. Your father wouldn't want this. Below that, another text. I'm coming to Ohio. We're going to end this together. Sarah's hands were shaking. She can't come here. She'll make everything about her grief and my guilt, and then we don't let her. I took Sarah's phone gently. You're an adult. You're allowed to set boundaries, even with mothers. Sarah looked at me with something between gratitude and despair. You make it sound so simple. It's not simple, but it's necessary. I handed back her phone. Text her back. Tell her you appreciate her concern, but you're making your own choices. Tell her you love her, but this isn't her decision. And then ... I paused. And then turn off your phone for tonight. Tomorrow's too important to face, exhausted from family drama. Sarah smiled a small, sad smile. When did you become so wise? Probably somewhere between losing everything and deciding to fight back. We ordered pizza. Sarah's insistence again on paying, and spent the evening reviewing everything one more time. The victim reports, the pattern documentation, the threat emails, the timeline of events. By 10 o'clock, we were as prepared as we could be. Sarah gathered her things to leave. Margaret, she said at the door, thank you. For what? For not giving up. For letting me be part of this. For ... double quotes, she hesitated. For showing me what bravery looks like when you're terrified. After she left, I tried calling Jessica. It went straight to voicemail. I left a message. Sweetheart, I know you're angry. I know you're scared. But please understand that I'm not being reckless. I'm being intentional. There's a difference. I love you. And I hope someday you'll understand why this matters so much. Call me when you're ready. I didn't know if she'd listen to it. I didn't know if she'd forgive me for choosing this fight over her peace of mind. I didn't know a lot of things, but I knew that tomorrow morning, Sarah and I would walk into the FBI field office in Cincinnati. We'd tell our story to someone with actual power to do something. We'd take the next step in a journey that had started with a phone call and 62,000 stolen dollars and had somehow become about something much larger: justice, dignity, refusing to disappear. I went to bed that night thinking about Harold, about the fights he'd chosen, the battles he'd waged, the times he'd been called impractical or obsessive, or too invested in causes that couldn't be won. And I understood, finally, what had driven him. Not the belief that he'd always win, but the belief that some fights were worth having, even when the outcome was uncertain. That showing up mattered. That refusing to accept nothing can be done mattered. That bearing witness to injustice and saying "not on my watch" mattered. I fell asleep with my phone on the nightstand, hoping Jessica would call back. She didn't, but when my alarm went off at 6 a.m. Tuesday morning, there was a text from Sarah. "Ready for today?" I texted back, "Ready." And somewhere, in ways I couldn't see yet, the tide was beginning to turn. The FBI field office in Cincinnati looked nothing like I'd imagined. No dramatic glass towers or intimidating security like the movies. Just a plain brick building in an office park, surrounded by autumn trees and a parking lot half full of ordinary cars. Sarah and I sat in her sedan for a moment after she turned off the engine, neither of us moving. "Last chance to turn back," she said, but her smile told me she didn't mean it. "Too late for that. We've come too far." Inside, Special Agent Linda Kozłowski met us in a conference room on the third floor. She was younger than I expected, maybe 45, with sharp eyes and a handshake that conveyed both strength and reassurance. Marcus was already there, laptop open, looking like he'd been up all night. "Mrs. Patterson, Miss Chen, thank you for coming." Agent Kozłowski gestured to chairs. "I've reviewed everything Marcus provided. The pattern documentation is exceptional. 53 coordinated victim reports with matching technical details and timelines. That's unprecedented in elder fraud cases." She opened a folder thick with papers. "What I need from you today is to walk me through your experience chronologically, every detail you remember. Then we'll discuss the threat emails and your safety concerns. This will take several hours. Are you comfortable with that?" I looked at Sarah. She squeezed my hand under the table. "We're comfortable," I said. For the next 3 hours, I told my story again. But this time was different. Agent Kozłowski didn't just listen, she dissected. Asked about background noises during David's call. Wanted exact wording of phrases he'd used. Requested timeline details down to the minute. When I mentioned the verification questions David had asked, she stopped me. "These questions about your bank, your address, partial account numbers, you said he already knew the answers. Where could that information have come from?" Marcus thought maybe a data breach. Marcus is partially correct, but data breaches are random. This targeting isn't. 43 victims in 3 months, all from specific demographic and geographic clusters, all banking at one of 7 institutions. Someone is curating these lists. She pulled out a map with red pins marking victim locations. "See the pattern? They're not scattered. They're concentrated around specific zip codes with higher median ages and income levels." Sarah leaned forward. "You're saying someone with access to demographic and financial data is building target lists?" "That's exactly what I'm saying, and that narrows our suspect pool considerably. Banks, insurance companies, senior centers, medical providers, entities that serve elderly populations and maintain detailed records. Someone with database access and financial motivation is selling information to these fraud rings." The implications made my stomach turn. "You mean someone whose job is to help seniors is betraying them for money?" "Yes. And when we find them, they'll face serious federal charges. Conspiracy, wire, fraud, elder abuse. We're talking decades in prison." Agent Kozłowski's expression hardened. "Which brings me to the threat emails. Marcus traced them to domestic servers. Whoever sent them has resources and technical knowledge. They're not just overseas scammers. They're connected to the insider operation here." She pulled up the emails on her laptop with 2 warnings. The photograph of Daniel Chen's grave. "This escalation concerns me. They've identified Sarah specifically. They've researched her background enough to find her father's burial location. That requires effort and intent. It means they view you both as genuine threats to their operation. What does that mean practically? I asked. It means I'm recommending protective measures. Not full witness protection. You're not in immediate physical danger, but monitoring. Regular check-ins with local police. Security system installation at both your homes. And most importantly, no more public forum posts or media appearances until we've made arrests. Sarah and I exchanged glances. Agent Kozłowski, Sarah said carefully, with respect, visibility is our protection. The more public this case becomes, the harder we are to silence quietly. If we go dark now, you make yourselves isolated targets. Kozłowski nodded. I understand the logic, but you also escalate their desperation. Desperate criminals make dangerous decisions. So do desperate victims, I said quietly. For months, these people have operated in shadows, counting on shame and silence to protect them. The moment we shine light on their operation, they panic. That panic is leverage. That panic creates mistakes. Kozłowski studied me with something like respect. You've thought about this strategically. I've had good teachers. I looked at Sarah and Marcus, and I've learned that sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is nothing. We spent another hour discussing logistics. The FBI investigation would proceed on multiple tracks: technical analysis of fraud patterns, financial tracing of stolen funds, and crucially, investigation of potential insider sources at the 7 institutions where victims banked. That investigation will take months, Kozłowski warned. Subpoenas, interviews, database audits. It's meticulous work. In the meantime, I need you both to be careful. Vary your routines. Don't travel alone. Report anything suspicious immediately. As we prepared to leave, Marcus pulled us aside. There's something else, he said quietly. I didn't want to mention it in front of Kozłowski yet because I'm still verifying, but I think I've found something in the victim data. He pulled up a spreadsheet on his laptop. Look at the dates victims received pre-scam surveys, the ones Monica reported about. They cluster around 3 specific weeks in July and August. Now look at these. He highlighted several entries. 5 victims reported receiving the surveys after attending events at senior community centers, different cities, but all in the target geographic area. Sarah's eyes widened. You think someone was distributing surveys at senior events? I think someone was using legitimate senior services infrastructure to gather intelligence. Community centers, health fairs, Medicare information. Sessions events where elderly people naturally congregate and trust the organizers, hand out official-looking surveys, collect detailed information, use it to build scam target lists. Can you prove that? I asked. Not yet, but if I can identify which organizations hosted events during those specific weeks, and cross-reference their staff or volunteers with the 7 banking institutions, I might find the connection. He looked at both of us seriously. This is the thread that could unravel everything, but I need more time. We left the FBI building around 2 in the afternoon. The autumn sun felt too bright after hours in fluorescent conference rooms. Sarah drove in silence for several miles before speaking. Do you believe we're in real danger? I thought about the threat emails, the photograph of her father's grave, the escalating desperation Kozłowski had described. I believe we've made powerful enemies. I also believe we've made powerful allies. The question is, which side moves faster? My phone rang. Jessica's name on the screen. I answered carefully. Hello, sweetheart, Mom. Her voice was strained, tired. I've been thinking all night, and I realized something. I can't stop you from doing this. I can't protect you from your own choices, but I can, ... double quotes, she paused. I can stop pretending I'm okay with it. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm flying back to Seattle this afternoon. I'm not going to watch you risk everything for a principal, but I'm also not going to abandon you completely. Jessica, let me finish. I'm going to call you every day, morning and evening, just to know you're alive and safe. And if you miss a call, if even once you don't answer, I'm coming back with David and we're physically removing you from that house. Do you understand? It wasn't support, but it wasn't abandonment either. I understand, I said softly. And Jessica, I love you. Even if you don't understand why I'm doing this, I love you too, Mom. That's why I'm terrified. After we hung up, I stared out the window at Ohio farmland rolling past. She'll forgive you eventually, Sarah said. When this is over, when she sees what you accomplished. What if I don't accomplish anything? What if the money stays gone, the scammers stay free, and I've just destroyed my relationship with my daughter for nothing? Sarah pulled into a rest stop and turned to face me. Margaret, listen to me. You've already accomplished something. 53 victims found their voices because you found yours. The FBI opened an investigation because you refused to accept silence. Monica wrote articles that educated thousands. Marcus is tracking patterns that might prevent future crimes. You didn't do nothing. You did everything that mattered. Tears I'd been holding back for days finally spilled over. I'm so tired, Sarah. I'm tired of being brave. Tired of fighting. Tired of choosing this battle over my daughter's peace. What if she's right? What if Harold wouldn't want this? Sarah handed me tissues from her glove compartment. I think Harold would be proud of exactly who you've become. A fighter, a voice, a woman who looked at injustice and said, "Not on my watch." She smiled gently. And I think when this is over, really over, Jessica, we'll see that too. We sat in that rest stop parking lot for 20 minutes, just sitting, breathing, letting the weight of the last 2 weeks settle into something manageable. Finally, Sarah started the car again, ready to go home, ready. But when we pulled into my driveway an hour later, something was wrong. My front door stood slightly ajar. I knew, absolutely knew I had locked it that morning. Sarah saw it the same moment I did. Her hand shot out, stopping me from getting out of the car. "Don't move." She was already dialing. "I'm calling the police." Through my open door, I could see into my living room. Everything looked normal. Nothing obviously disturbed, but the door was open. And we both knew what that meant. Someone had been in my house. The Willowbrook police arrived in 7 minutes. Officer Martinez, the same young officer who'd taken my initial report, my house, with his hand near his weapon. Sarah and I waited in her car, doors locked, watching through the windshield as he and his partner cleared each room. It felt surreal. Violation has a particular texture, sharp and cold, settling in your chest like ice. After 15 minutes, Martinez returned to the car. "House is clear." No one inside now, but someone was definitely there. His expression was grim. "You're going to want to see this." We followed him inside. The living room looked untouched. Kitchen normal. Bathroom fine. But when we reached Harold's study, my throat closed. Everything was destroyed. Not violently, methodically. Papers pulled from drawers and scattered across the floor. File cabinets opened. Contents dumped. Harold's old computer, the one I'd been too afraid to touch since the scam, lay on its side. Hard drive removed. The desk drawers hung open like mouths, empty and accusatory. But it was the wall that made my knees buckle. Someone had spray painted in red across the white paint. "Stop asking questions." Sarah caught my arm before I fell. "They were looking for something," Martinez said, photographing the scene. "The computer hard drive removal suggests they wanted your data, documents related to your case, maybe evidence you'd been gathering. Everything's backed up," Sarah said, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "Cloud storage, multiple locations. They got nothing we can't replace." But that wasn't quite true, because scattered among the papers on the floor were photographs. My wedding photos, pictures of Jessica and David as children, Harold's medical conference snapshots, family Christmas cards spanning 40 years. They'd touched my memories, sorted through them, handled the fragments of my life like they were evidence to be evaluated and dismissed. "I'm calling Agent Kozłowski," Martinez said. "This is beyond local jurisdiction now. This is witness intimidation in a federal investigation." While he made the call, I knelt and began gathering photographs. Sarah knelt beside me, helping collect the scattered pieces of my history. "They want you scared," she said quietly. "Scared enough to stop. That's all this is. It's working." She looked at me sharply. "Margaret, I'm not stopping. I'm just admitting I'm terrified. There's a difference." We worked in silence, rebuilding small piles of order from deliberate chaos. I found Harold's favorite photo, the two of us, on our 30th anniversary, dancing in our backyard under string lights the kids had hung for us. His smile in that picture was the one I remembered most. Joy without reservation. Love without doubt. "What would you do?" I whispered to the photograph. "What would you tell me to do?" But Harold was for years gone, and the answers had to be mine now. Agent Kozłowski arrived. Within 2 hours, bringing a forensics team that dusted for prints and documented everything, she pulled Sarah and me aside while they worked. This changes the threat assessment. Breaking and entering, property destruction, direct intimidation. Whoever's behind this is escalating. They're no longer just watching, they're acting. She paused. I'm recommending you both relocate temporarily. Hotel, family members, home, anywhere but here until we can ensure security. No, the word came out. Harder than I intended. They want me out of my house, displaced, frightened into hiding. I won't give them that satisfaction. Margaret, this isn't about satisfaction. This is about safety. I'll install security cameras. I'll have alarms. I'll check in with police daily. But I won't leave. I looked at my destroyed study, at Harold's overturned desk, at the violated space where we'd built our life together. They've taken enough. They don't get my home too. Kozłowski studied me with an expression I couldn't quite read. You're stubborn, I'm determined. There's a difference. She almost smiled. All right, but we're installing a panic button system. Direct line to local police. You press it. They respond immediately. And someone checks on you twice daily. Non-negotiable. I agreed. The forensics team finished around 7. They'd found no prints gloves, obviously, but they'd collected the spray paint can, fiber samples, and security footage from Mrs. Chen's doorbell camera. Across the street that might have caught something. After everyone left, Sarah and I stood in the study, surveying the damage. I'll help you clean this up, she said. Not tonight. Tonight I just... I couldn't finish the sentence. I know, she touched my shoulder. I'm staying over. Guest room. Before you argue, it's not negotiable. You shouldn't be alone tonight. I was too exhausted to protest. We ordered Chinese food, again a ritual born from crisis, and ate it in my living room since the kitchen felt too exposed, too many windows. Tell me about your father, I said suddenly. Not the scam, not his death. Tell me who he was before all that. Sarah set down her chopsticks, surprised. He was ... gentle, brilliant in this absent-minded professor way. He'd get lost in mathematical proofs and forget to eat. Mom would have to remind him humans needed food. She smiled at the memory. He taught me chess when I was 6. Not the game, the thinking. How to see patterns. How to anticipate consequences. How to think 3 moves ahead. Sounds like he taught you well, maybe too well. I think that's why Mom's angry about all this. She sees me thinking 3 moves ahead, anticipating consequences, and she thinks I'm not feeling enough, not grieving properly, just strategizing. Are you grieving? Sarah was quiet for a long moment. I don't know. I was so angry after he died. Angry at him for not fighting harder. Angry at myself for not seeing the signs. Angry at the system that failed him. And then the anger became ... fuel, purpose. Maybe that's not healthy. Maybe Mom's right that I need therapy instead of crusades. Maybe you need both, I said gently. Maybe we both do. We finished eating in comfortable silence. Sarah cleaned up while I sat in Harold's chair, too tired to move. Through the window, I watched Willowbrook settle into its Tuesday evening routine, porch lights flickering on, cars pulling into driveways, the Morrison kids shooting baskets despite the dark, normal life, continuing despite everything. My phone buzzed. A text from Jessica, landed safely. Call me before bed. I need to know you're okay. I called, told her about the break-in, listened to her immediate panic, her insistence I come to Seattle, her barely controlled fear. Mom, please, this is too dangerous. They know where you live. They're threatening you physically now. How much more do you need to see before you admit this is too much? What if I said, I need you to trust me? Trust that I know what I'm doing, that I'm taking precautions, that I'm not being reckless, just refusing to surrender. I'd say you're asking me to watch you walk into danger and pretend I'm okay with it. I'm not asking you to be okay with it. I'm asking you to respect my choice. The line went quiet. Then, softly, I'm so scared I'm going to lose you. You're not going to lose me, sweetheart. I'm too stubborn to die over principle. She laughed through tears. That's not as reassuring as you think it is. After we hung up, I found Sarah in the kitchen finishing dishes. She's terrified, I said. So, and when Sarah dried her hands, Margaret, I need to tell you something. That phone call earlier, the one from my mother, she's coming anyway, driving down from Cleveland tomorrow. She wants to intervene before I destroy myself the way Dad did. What are you going to tell her? The truth. that I'm helping someone who needs help, that I'm fighting a battle Dad couldn't fight, that maybe this is how I say goodbye to him, by refusing to let his story end in shame and silence. She leaned against the counter. She won't understand. She say I'm being reckless and obsessive and using you to avoid dealing with my grief. And she'll probably be partly right. Does that change what you're doing? No. Does Jessica being scared change what you're doing? No. We looked at each other and something passed between us. Recognition. We were both choosing battles over comfort, justice, over peace, purpose over safety. Maybe that made us reckless, or maybe it just made us unwilling to disappear quietly. Sarah went to bed around 10. I stayed up, unable to sleep, walking through my house room by room, checking locks, testing windows, memorizing the ordinary sounds of settling wood and distant traffic so I'd recognize anything unusual. In the study, I stood looking at the spray-painted message, "Stop asking questions," for words meant to silence, for words that made me want to ask louder. Who were they? Not the overseas scammers, they were symptoms, but the insider, the trader in the trusted system, the person who'd looked at vulnerable seniors and seen profit instead of people, who sells out their own community for money. I thought about Marcus's theory, someone at senior events, distributing surveys, gathering intelligence while wearing a smile and a name tag. Someone we trusted, someone who was still out there, watching this investigation unfold. Getting desperate, my phone buzzed. An email notification, from an address I didn't recognize. Subject line, "You should have listened." I opened it with shaking hands. No text, just an attachment, a video file. I pressed play. The footage was grainy, clearly from a security camera. It showed Sarah's car in my driveway, showed us leaving this morning for Cincinnati, showed us returning this afternoon. Someone had been watching, recording, documenting our movements. The video cut to different footage: Sarah entering her rental house next door. Timestamp from last night. Then, another cut. My house. My bedroom window. From last week. Before the break-in. They'd been surveilling us for days. The video ended with text appearing on screen. "We know where you sleep. We know where you go. Stop now while you still can." I sat in the dark study, Harold's overturned desk beside me, spray paint drying on the wall, and I made a decision. Tomorrow, I would forward this video to Agent Kozłowski. Tomorrow, I would document this escalation. Tomorrow, I would continue fighting, but tonight, I would admit something I'd been avoiding. Jessica was right, Sarah's mother was right, Agent Kozłowski was right. This was dangerous. And the people we were fighting were more connected, more organized, and more desperate than we'd understood. The question wasn't whether I was scared. The question was whether being scared mattered more than being silent. I looked at Harold's photograph on the wall, the one from our anniversary, both of us dancing under string lights, and I knew my answer. Block 09. I didn't wake Sarah immediately. She needed sleep, needed one night without new horrors. So I sat in the dark living room with my phone, forwarding the surveillance video to Agent Kozłowski with a timestamp notation. 11:47 p.m., Tuesday, October 15th. Her response came back in 3 minutes. Received. "This is actionable evidence. Don't delete anything. We'll discuss security. Protocol in morning. Try to rest." Rest. As if sleep were possible when someone had filmed my bedroom window. I must have dozed eventually in Harold's chair, because I woke to Sarah shaking my shoulder gently. Morning light streaming through windows I'd forgotten to close. "Margaret, you slept here all night." She looked worried, exhausted herself. "What happened?" I showed her the video, watched the color drain from her face as she processed what it meant. We'd been watched for days. Followed. Documented. Our movements catalogued like specimens under glass. "This is my fault," she said quietly. "I pushed you into going public, into fighting. And now stop." I took the phone back. "This is their fault. The criminals, the insiders. Not yours, not mine. We didn't create this danger. We just refused to pretend it didn't exist." Sarah's phone rang. Her mother. She stared at the screen like it was a threat in itself. I have to answer. She's probably already on the road. She stepped into the kitchen. I heard fragments of conversation, Sarah's controlled tone, her mother's rising panic, the inevitable collision of fear and determination. When Sarah returned, her face was set in hard lines. "She's an hour away. She wants to meet here." Wants to see what I've gotten myself into. Sarah laughed bitterly. She keeps saying I'm repeating Dad's pattern. Obsessing over injustice. Forgetting to protect myself. She thinks I'm heading toward his ending. Are you? The question hung between us. I don't know, Sarah admitted. Maybe, or maybe I'm heading toward the ending he should have had. The one where someone fights back, where shame doesn't win, where her phone rang again. Marcus this time. I found something. His voice was electric with urgency. Margaret, Sarah, I need you both to listen carefully. I traced the senior event connection. 5 community centers hosted Medicare information sessions during the target weeks. Same company provided the programming for all of them. Senior Services Alliance, based in Columbus. Nonprofit organization, legitimate on the surface, but Sarah prompted. But when I dug into their employee records, I found something interesting. One of their outreach coordinators resigned abruptly 3 months ago, right when the scam rate accelerated. Name is Robert Castellano, 42 years old, worked in senior services for 8 years, had access to event registration databases containing names, addresses, financial information from registration forms. My heart was pounding. You think he's the insider? I think he fits the profile. He resigned with no forwarding employment, no social media presence anymore. Credit card activity suggests he left Ohio entirely. But here's what's interesting. Before he disappeared, he made several large cash deposits, $20,000 in July, $35,000 in August. All cash, no documented source. Payment for selling data. I said, that's my theory. And gets this, I found his resignation letter in public records. He claimed he was leaving for personal reasons and pursuing opportunities abroad. Classic runner behavior. He got paid, provided the intelligence, and fled before anyone connected the dots. Sarah was pacing now, energy crackling. If we can prove he sold victim data to the scammers, we have our case. The domestic connection, the insider link that makes this prosecutable. There's one more thing, Marcus said. His last known address was in Willowbrook, 42 Oak Street, 3 blocks from you, Margaret. The room tilted slightly, 3 blocks away. The person who'd betrayed us, who'd sold our information, who'd enabled everything that followed, he'd lived 3 blocks from my house. Had I seen him at the grocery store, the post office? Had we stood in line together at the pharmacy? Me trusting and unaware while he cataloged vulnerabilities. Agent Kozłowski needs to know, Sarah said. Already forwarded it to her. Marcus confirmed. She's initiating a manhunt. But Margaret Sarathis also means he might know who you are specifically. If he was local, if he had access to neighborhood data, he could have targeted you deliberately. After the call, Sarah and I sat in stunned silence. The scope kept expanding. What had started as my personal violation succeeded. $2,000 stolen. Shame and fear had become something massive. An organized operation. An insider betrayal. A manhunt for someone who'd lived 3 blocks away. Need coffee, Sarah said finally. Real coffee. The kind that requires leaving the house. Want to come? I almost said no. The house felt like a fortress now. Leaving felt like exposure. But I thought about the spray paint upstairs. The surveillance video. The way fear wanted to compress my world into smaller and smaller spaces until I disappeared entirely. Yes, I said. Let's go. We drove to the good cafe downtown, the one Harold and I had loved. The October morning was crisp and bright, leaves burning gold and red against blue sky. Willowbrook looked peaceful, innocent, like nothing terrible could happen here. But Robert Castellano had lived here, had walked these streets, had betrayed this community. How many others had he sold out before me? The cafe was busy with morning regulars. Sarah ordered for both of us while I found a table by the window. Normal life swirled around me, people discussing work schedules, planning weekend trips, complaining about traffic. Problems that felt manageable, containable. I envied them, their ordinary concerns. Sarah returned with coffee and pastries neither of us would eat. My mother texted, she's 15 minutes out. She wants to meet at your house. Sarah's hand trembled slightly around her cup. I don't know if I can do this. Face her anger and disappointment on top of everything else. You don't have to do it alone. I'll be there. Margaret, you don't understand what she's like when she's convinced she's right. She'll make this about Dad, about my failures, about how I'm being selfish and reckless, and you'll listen, and then you'll tell her the truth. that you're making your own choices, living your own life, honoring your father in the way that makes sense to you. I reached across the table. She doesn't get to define your grief or your purpose. Only you do. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. When did you become my therapist? Somewhere between losing everything and finding something worth fighting for. We drove back to my house 20 minutes later. A silver Honda was already in my driveway. Sarah's mother stood on my porch, arms crossed, expression thunderous. Helen Chen was elegant even in anger, silver hair, precisely cut, business casual clothing impeccable, posture rigid with controlled fury. She looked like someone used to being respected. Obeyed Mom. Sarah got out of the car slowly. You made good time. Don't. Helen's voice cut sharp. Don't make pleasantries like this is a social visit. Do you have any idea what you've done? Dragging this woman into your obsessive crusade, getting death threats, having the FBI involved. Mrs. Chen, I said, approaching carefully. I understand you're concerned, but Sarah didn't drag me anywhere. I asked for her help. Helen turned to me with an expression that suggested I was part of the problem. With respect, Mrs. Patterson, you don't know my daughter. You don't know her history. After her father died, she spiraled. Blamed herself. Researched Elderfraught obsessively. Pushed away friends. Nearly lost her job from distraction. We thought moving here would give her a fresh start. Instead, she's found someone to project all her unresolved guilt onto. That's not fair, Sarah said, voice shaking. I'm not projecting. I'm helping. You're repeating your father's mistakes. He couldn't let things go either. Couldn't accept that some battles can't be won. And it killed him. Sarah, the stress, the obsession, the inability to protect himself because he was too busy protecting everyone else. Helen's voice cracked. I won't watch you do the same thing. I won't lose you too. The raw pain in those words stopped everyone. We stood there on my porch, three women carrying different griefs, fighting different battles, trying to protect different things. Mrs. Chen, I said gently, I lost my husband 4 years ago. I understand the fear of losing someone else you love. But Sarah isn't Daniel. She's not repeating his ending. She's creating her own story. One where fighting back matters, where victims find their voices, where shame doesn't win. And what happens when these criminals decide fighting back deserves punishment, when they move from threats to action? Helen looked at me with tears streaming down her face. What happens when I get a call saying my daughter is dead because she couldn't stop playing hero? The question had no easy answer, because it was the same question Jessica had asked, the same question Agent Kozłowski had implied, the same question I'd asked myself at 3 a.m., staring at surveillance footage. What happens when the cost becomes too high? Sarah's phone rang. Agent Kozłowski, she answered on speaker. This is Sarah Chen. Ms. Chen, Mrs. Patterson, where are you right now? My mother's visiting. We're at Margaret's house. Why? Because we just received credible intelligence that Robert Castellano is in the Willowbrook area. We have units searching, but I need you both to shelter in place immediately. Lock all doors and windows. Don't open for anyone except identified law enforcement. Do you understand? My blood turned to ice. He's here, in Willowbrook. We don't know for certain, but his credit card pinged at a gas station 20 miles away 2 hours ago. First activity in weeks. Either he's running, or, double quotes, Kozłowski paused. Or he's come back to deal with loose ends. You're the loose ends. Stay inside. Stay safe. We'll update you when we know more. She hung up. The three of us stood frozen on the porch. Helen looked at Sarah with an expression of vindicated horror. This is what I was afraid of. This exact scenario. And you're going to tell me you're not in danger, that this is just helping someone. Sarah's face had gone pale, but her voice, when she spoke, was steady. You're right, Mom. This is dangerous. But walking away now doesn't make us safe. He knows who we are, where we live. The damage is done. The only way out is through. We went inside, locked every door, checked every window, sat in my living room like prisoners in my own home, while somewhere out there, Robert Castellano, the man who'd sold us out, who'd enabled everything that followed, moved through Willowbrook with unknown intentions. Helen sat rigid on my couch, jaw clenched. Sarah paced. And I thought about Harold's favorite quote, the one he'd say when facing impossible medical cases. Sometimes the only way to heal is to cut out what's infected. Even if the surgery is dangerous, we'd cut into something infected. Now we'd discover if we'd survived the surgery. Did Robert Castellano really come back to silence us? Or are we chasing ghosts? Comment what you think will happen. I need to know you're with me on this journey.